Snow fell thick outside Chicago's most expensive restaurant, where a single meal cost what a working family paid in rent for a month. Victoria Hale stood in the center of the silent dining room, her $10,000 dress drenched in hot soup, steam rising into the frigid air. Before her stood a man in a worn coat, hands trembling from cold and fear. "Do you have any idea what this dress costs?" she asked. The man looked straight into her eyes and answered with a sentence that would begin to crack Victoria's entire world. The restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows framed downtown Chicago like a snow globe someone had shaken too hard. Victoria Hale sat alone at a corner table, illuminated by a single pendant light that made her platinum hair gleam like winter itself. She'd chosen this table deliberately. Maximum visibility, maximum isolation. Her tablet glowed with acquisition reports, while untouched wine oxidized in crystal stemware. Around her, the city's elite whispered over truffle courses and vintage champagne, their laughter muffled by velvet and privilege. Victoria didn't hear them. She never did. At 37, she'd built Hale Ventures into a billion-dollar empire by treating every interaction as a transaction and every relationship as a contract. Her assistant once joked that Victoria scheduled bathroom breaks. Victoria had fired her for imprecision. She scheduled everything except bathroom breaks. Outside, the blizzard transformed Michigan Avenue into something unrecognizable. Taxis crawled, pedestrians hunched. The city that never stopped had finally slowed down. Victoria noticed none of it. Her world existed in spreadsheets and shareholder value. In the measured click of her pen against the table's edge, 3 taps, pause. 3 taps, a rhythm that had soundtracked 1,000 closed deals. She'd been beautiful once, people said. She still was, technically. But somewhere between her first million and her first billion, beauty had calcified into something harder. Something that made waiters approach her table like bomb disposal technicians. The maitre d' swept past, his eyes sliding away from her the way water avoided oil. Perfect. Victoria pulled up another document. A fertility clinic's letterhead glowed harsh white against the dimmed lighting. She'd been staring at it for 20 minutes without reading a single word. The restaurant's heavy doors opened. A blast of winter air cut through the expensive warmth. Victoria glanced up, irritated by the disruption. A man stumbled in, snowflakes melting on a coat that had seen better seasons. His boots left wet prints on marble floors. He carried insulated bags marked with a delivery service logo that definitely didn't match the restaurant's aesthetic. The maitre d' intercepted him with practiced efficiency, pointed toward the service entrance, made that universal gesture of dismissal that wealthy establishments perfected. Victoria returned to her tablet. These disruptions happened. The help always found their way eventually. She didn't look up again until the crash. Michael Carter had been delivering food for 3 weeks and still hadn't figured out which buildings let him use the front entrance. This wasn't one of them. "Sir, deliveries go around back," the maitre d' said, his voice the temperature of the blizzard outside. "I understand, but the kitchen entrance is locked. I called twice." Nobody answered. Michael's breath came fast. He'd just climbed 4 flights because the service elevator was broken. "Order for Harper, table 12? I'll take it from here. I need a signature." The maitre d' reached for the bags. Michael pulled back instinctively. He'd learned the hard way no signature meant no payment, and no payment meant Lily didn't eat tomorrow. "Just get someone from table 12, please. I'm already 20 minutes late for my next delivery." He hadn't meant to raise his voice, but 3 jobs and 4 hours of sleep had filed his patience down to nothing. The dining room had gone quiet in that way expensive places did when the wrong element introduced chaos. Michael felt every eye on him. His coat dripped melted snow onto floors that probably cost more per square foot than his monthly rent. A waiter materialized, took the bags, thrust a tablet at Michael for signature. Finally, Michael turned to leave, exhaustion making him clumsy. His boot caught the edge of a marble step he hadn't seen. He stumbled sideways, arms windmilling, and collided with a passing server carrying soup. Time did that thing where it slowed down and sped up simultaneously. The bowl launched upward in a graceful arc. Michael watched it flip, watched the bisque paint patterns in the air, watched it descend with mathematical certainty toward a woman in a white dress that probably cost more than his car. The soup hit her chest and cascaded down. Steam rose from the fabric. The woman stood frozen, arms slightly extended, as orange bisque transformed $10,000 of Italian silk into abstract art. The entire restaurant held its breath. Michael's first thought, I'm going to lose this job. His second, Lily's Christmas presents. His third, that woman looks like she's deciding whether to have me arrested or simply erased from existence. I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. The words tumbled out. I'll pay for cleaning. I'll whatever it costs. I'll make it right. The woman's eyes met his. They were the color of Arctic ice and just as warm. You'll make it right, she repeated, her voice precise as a scalpel. You'll make it right. Around them, diners pretended not to stare while staring intently. Phones appeared. Someone would be capturing this for their private group chat within seconds. Michael's face burned. He pulled out his phone with shaking fingers. I have insurance through the delivery service. Let me get their information. Don't. One word. Absolute authority. The matron appeared with napkins. Victoria waved him away. What's your name? She asked Michael. Michael Carter. Michael Carter, who ruins dresses, or Michael Carter, who can afford to replace them? The question hit like a slap. Michael's jaw tightened. Michael Carter, who said he's sorry and meant it. Michael Carter, who's trying to figure out how to fix this. Are you? She tilted her head. Do you have $50,000, Michael Carter? The number landed in the silence like a grenade. $50,000. The dress cost $50,000. Michael's entire world tilted. $50,000 was Lily's college fund, barely started. $50,000 was 2 years of rent. $50,000 was the buffer between survival and catastrophe. No, he said quietly. I don't. Victoria's expression didn't change. Then you can't fix this. You can't make it right. You can't do anything except stand there and realize that some mistakes cost more than you'll ever have. Something in Michael's chest cracked. Not from shame, he'd learned to carry shame like a coat in Chicago winters. This was something different, something older. He looked at her, really looked, and saw past the dress, past the diamonds, past the calculated cruelty. He saw someone who'd forgotten what mistakes felt like because she'd insulated herself from their consequences. You're right, Michael said. I can't afford your dress. But you know what? You can't afford to be human for 5 seconds. So I guess we're both bankrupt in our own way. He turned and walked toward the door, leaving wet footprints and a room full of witnesses. Behind him, Victoria Hale stood motionless, soup cooling on ruined silk as something she couldn't name twisted in her chest. Victoria watched the man Michael Carter disappear into the blizzard and felt the weight of 100 stares press against her skin. She'd been stared at before. She'd given keynote speeches, endured shareholder meetings, negotiated across tables from men who thought her gender meant weakness. Stares didn't bother her. These stares felt different. Miss Hale? The maitre d' materialized with a coat. Perhaps the private dining room while we arrange. She walked through the restaurant with her spine straight and her head up, bisque dripping onto Louboutin heels. Let them look. Let them capture this on their phones. By morning, someone would leak it. Billionaire Victoria Hale, humiliated by delivery driver and her PR team, would spin it before lunch. The coat room attendant helped her into her Burberry. Victoria tipped him $200 without counting, the way she always did. Money solved most problems. The ones it didn't solve weren't worth her time. Outside, her driver pulled up instantly. He'd been circling, waiting for her signal. Home? Miss Hale? No. She stared at the falling snow. Drive around the block. Slowly. She didn't know what she was looking for until she saw him. Michael Carter, hunched against the wind, standing at a bus stop that wasn't coming. Just a man waiting for public transportation in a blizzard, because that's what people did when they couldn't afford alternatives. Victoria pulled out her phone. Her assistant answered on the first ring. Get me everything on Michael Carter. Delivery driver, probably contracted through one of the apps. I want employment history, address, family situation, 30 minutes. She ended the call. Keep driving, she told her driver. The car glided away from the curb, warm and silent. Through the rear window, Victoria watched Michael grow smaller, a man-shaped shadow against the white. You can't afford to be human for 5 seconds. The words circled in her mind like vultures. When had being human become something she couldn't afford? Back at her penthouse, Victoria stripped off the ruined dress and stood under a shower hot enough to hurt. The bisque had stained her skin orange. She scrubbed until the water ran clear and her flesh turned pink. Her phone buzzed, a file from her assistant. Victoria wrapped herself in a robe that cost more than Michael's monthly rent and opened the document. Michael James Carter. Age 34. Former architect, Reynolds and Associates. Let go 8 months ago during restructuring. Current employment. 3 delivery services. Night custodian at Lincoln Elementary. Single father. Daughter, Lily Catherine Carter, age 8. The file included photos. Michael, at a school pickup line. A little girl with dark curls wrapped around his legs. Michael, at a grocery store, counting coupons. A social media profile he hadn't updated in years, back when he wore suits and smiled at gallery openings. The next item made Victoria's hand freeze on the screen. Medical records flagged. IVF Clinic, Northwestern Reproductive Health Center. Application for sperm donation program denied due to age and medical history screening failure. Victoria zoomed in on the date. 3 weeks ago, the same day she'd been there. The same afternoon she'd sat in that awful waiting room with the pastel walls and educational posters about fertility windows. She remembered now. A little girl in the play corner, coloring. And yes, a man in the chair across from her, filling out forms with the intensity of someone taking a final exam. Victoria closed the file and stared at her reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. 57 floors below, the city glittered through falling snow. Every light a life she'd never considered. She picked up her phone. Miss Hale? Her assistant sounded alert despite the late hour. She paid people to be alert at all hours. Draft a check. $50,000, payable to Michael Carter. Messenger it to his address first thing tomorrow. Of course. Shall I include? And draft an employment contract. Position: Facility Operations Manager, Hale Ventures Headquarters. Salary commensurate with his former architecture position. Full benefits. Sign-on bonus. Silence on the other end. Victoria never created positions out of thin air. Every role, every hire, every expense justified itself or died in committee. Miss Hale, should I route this through HR for? No. Direct hire. My authority. Have everything ready by noon tomorrow. She ended the call and returned to the window. Somewhere out there, Michael Carter was probably reading bedtime stories to his daughter in an apartment Victoria could buy without checking her account balance. You can't afford to be human. Watch me, Victoria whispered to the snow. The check arrived at 9 a.m. via courier. Michael stared at it for 5 full minutes, convinced it was a mistake. $50,000. The memo line read, "Dry cleaning." His first instinct was to tear it up. His second was to call the bank and verify it wouldn't bounce. His third, the one that actually happened, was to sit down at his kitchen table and put his head in his hands. Lily found him there when she emerged from her bedroom, already dressed for school in mismatched socks and a sweater with a unicorn on it. "Daddy? Why are you crying?" "I'm not crying, Bug. Your eyes are leaky." Michael laughed, the sound half sob. Fair point. He tucked the check into his wallet before she could see it. "Pancakes? With chocolate chips? Don't push your luck." They negotiated down to blueberries, while morning sunlight struggled through their apartment's single window. The building super still hadn't fixed the radiator, so Michael had been running the oven with the door open. Not safe, not smart, but warm. He flipped pancakes and watched Lily color at the table, humming to herself. 8 years old, smart as hell. Happy despite everything Michael couldn't give her. The second envelope arrived at 10 a.m. Michael almost didn't open it. He'd dealt with enough official-looking letters, bills, eviction warnings, rejection notices to know they rarely contained good news. This one did. Job offer, real salary. Benefits that included dental and vision, things Michael hadn't had since the architecture firm. Start date. Immediately. The signature at the bottom. Victoria Hale. His phone rang. Mr. Carter? This is Jennifer Wu, assistant to Miss Hale. I'm calling to confirm receipt of your employment package and discuss start logistics. I haven't accepted. A pause. I'm sorry? I haven't accepted the position. I haven't even decided if I'm cashing the check. Another pause. Longer. Mr. Carter, I don't think you understand. Miss Hale doesn't make offers like this. She doesn't create positions. You should. I should what? Be grateful? That's not what I... Tell Miss Hale if she wants to discuss employment, she can call me herself. Not through assistants, not through lawyers, herself. He hung up. Lily looked up from her coloring. Who was that? Someone who's about to be very surprised. Victoria's phone rang at 10:47 a.m. Her assistant's voice carried an edge Victoria had never heard before. He hung up on me. What? Michael Carter. He hung up. He said if you want to discuss employment, you need to call him yourself. Not through me. Not through anyone else. You. Victoria set down the fountain pen she'd been using to annotate contracts. In 15 years of running Hale Ventures, exactly 3 people had ever refused her anything. 2 had been international government officials. 1 had been her mother, dying. Get him on the line. He won't answer if it's my number. Use mine. Miss Hale, you don't call job candidates directly. You don't, Jennifer. Victoria's voice could have cut glass. Get him on the line, or I'll call him myself, and you can explain to the next employer why you couldn't accomplish a simple task. 2 minutes later, her phone rang. Victoria answered. Mr. Carter, Miss Hale. His voice carried that same rough edge from the restaurant, like someone who'd learned to fight back after years of getting knocked down. I understand you have questions about the employment offer. I have one question. Why? The position is legitimate. The salary is competitive. That's not what I asked. Victoria stood and walked to her office windows. 57 floors below, people moved like blood cells through the city's arteries. You ruined an expensive dress. I'm compensating you for the distress and offering employment because your skill set matches a need in my organization. That's corporate speak for I'm not telling you. Excuse me? You heard me. You're not offering me a job because you need a facility manager. You already have facilities people. I looked up your company. 300 employees, full operations, staff. So I'll ask again. Why? Victoria's fingers tightened on the phone. When was the last time someone had challenged her directly? When was the last time someone hadn't simply accepted her version of reality? Mr. Carter, I'm trying to help you. I don't need help. I need honesty. You're a single father working 3 jobs. You applied to sell your sperm for money. Don't tell me you don't need help. The silence on the other end stretched so long Victoria thought he'd hung up. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Quieter. Dangerous. You investigated me. I did my due diligence. You violated my privacy. I used publicly available information. Medical records aren't public. Victoria's stomach dropped. She'd overstepped. She knew it the moment the words left his mouth. Mr. Carter, you want to know why I was at that clinic? Fine. I'll tell you. My daughter needed new shoes. Not wanted. Needed. The ones she had were falling apart, and I stood in that waiting room, filling out forms to sell part of myself so I could buy my kid shoes that fit. His voice cracked. So don't you dare stand in your tower and tell me you're trying to help. Don't you dare pretend this is about job matches and skill sets. You want something, I don't know what, but But I know enough about people like you to know nothing's free. People like me. People who think everything's a transaction. Who look at someone struggling and see a problem to solve instead of a person to respect. Victoria closed her eyes. The accuracy hurt more than it should have. You're right, she said. What? You're right. I do want something. The words came slowly, like pulling teeth. But not what you think. Not from you. I saw you at the clinic. You saw me. Your daughter Lily, she asked me why I looked sad. Michael said nothing. I'm 37 years old, Victoria continued. I spent 15 years building a company and 0 years building anything else. And 3 weeks ago, a doctor told me that if I want children, I'm running out of time. Not in years, in months. So, the job offer is real. The check is real. But yes, there's more. Victoria turned from the window. I want to hire you. I want to pay you fairly. And I want something else. Something I can't force and shouldn't ask. What? I want a baby, Victoria said. And I have no idea how to be a mother. The line went silent again. Victoria waited, her heart doing something it hadn't done in years. Racing. Miss Hale, Michael finally said. I think we need to meet in person. They met at a diner in Wicker Park. Neutral territory equidistant from Victoria's tower and Michael's apartment. Victoria arrived in a town car. Michael arrived on the blue line. She ordered coffee. He ordered coffee and pie. My daughter has a school concert tonight, Michael said without preamble. If this takes more than an hour, I'm leaving. Understood. They sat across from each other in a vinyl booth that had seen better decades. Around them, late-morning stragglers nursed hangovers and cheap coffee. No one looked twice at Victoria despite her Chanel coat and Cartier watch. In this neighborhood, eccentric rich people were just part of the landscape. Talk, Michael said. Victoria wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. The truth? I'm terrified. Of what? Of doing to a child what was done to me. She told him about her mother. Not the sanitized version. She gave interviewers, strong woman, high standards, pushed me to excel, but the truth. The woman who measured love in test scores. Who scheduled Victoria's childhood in 15-minute increments. Who turned affection into performance review. She died 2 years ago, Victoria said. And I felt relief. Not grief. Relief. What kind of person feels relieved when their mother dies? The kind whose mother made them feel like a quarterly report instead of a daughter. Victoria looked up, surprised. Michael shrugged. My dad was career military. Different flavor, same recipe. Affection was weakness. Mistakes were failures. I joined architecture to build things that lasted. Took me years to realize I was trying to build something he'd finally approve of. Did he? Don't know. He died before I graduated. Michael took a bite of pie. But here's the thing about damaged parents. They teach you exactly what not to do. Doesn't mean you won't screw up, just means you screw up differently. Is that supposed to be comforting? It's supposed to be honest. Victoria sipped her coffee. It was terrible, acidic, and burnt. She drank it anyway. The clinic, she said. Why were you there? Michael's jaw tightened. Lost my job 8 months ago. Reynolds and Associates, big architecture firm. They called it restructuring. Reality was, I asked for too much time off when Lily got sick. Made myself expendable. What happened to her mother? Lily's mom, Sarah, died when Lily was 3. Complications from a surgery that should have been routine. His voice went flat, reciting facts instead of feeling them. Enough to cover funeral and expenses. Worked freelance for a while, but the projects dried up. Then the freelance dried up. Then savings dried up. So the clinic. He met her eyes. You want to know the worst part? I failed the screening. 34's too old for their premium donors, and my family medical history, my dad had heart issues, made me non-viable. He laughed, bitter. Couldn't even sell my sperm right. Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it automatically. Conference call in 20 minutes. then silenced it completely. My clinic visit, she said slowly, was a follow-up. Third one. The doctor explained, very professionally, that my egg reserve is depleted, that if I want a biological child, I should start IVF immediately, that every month I wait decreases the odds. Did you start? I scheduled the initial consultation. Then I canceled. Then I rescheduled. Then I sat in that waiting room looking at pamphlets about injection protocols and egg retrieval, and I thought, what am I doing? What are you doing? Trying to solve loneliness with biology, trying to manufacture purpose, trying to become something I'm probably not capable of being. Victoria set down her mug. 8 years old, and she saw right through me. You know what I did? I walked away. Couldn't even answer a child's simple question. Michael studied her. So this job offer, this crazy proposal, what exactly are you proposing? I don't know, Victoria admitted. I know what I don't want. I don't want a transaction. I don't want a contract that reduces a child to a commodity. I don't want me to be a sperm donor you pay for. Then what do you want? Victoria traced the rim of her coffee mug. I want someone who understands what it means to choose parenthood every single day. Someone who knows that love isn't performance, it's presence. Someone who can teach me what I never learned. And you think I'm that person? I think you stood in a fertility clinic ready to sell part of yourself to buy your daughter shoes. I think you hung up on my assistant because I tried to turn this into a transaction. I think, Victoria paused, I think you're the opposite of me, and maybe that's exactly what I need. Michael leaned back in the booth. Outside, an L train rattled past, shaking the diner's windows. My daughter, he said carefully, is the most important thing in my world. Not most important person, most important thing. Everything I do, every decision I make, filters through one question. Is this good for Lily? I understand. I don't think you do. His voice hardened. Because if I even consider what you're asking, and I mean if, then Lily comes first. Not your company. Not your timeline. Not your convenience. Her. I wouldn't expect. Second. No investigations. No background checks on my friends, my family, my life. You want to know something? You ask me. To my face, like a human being. Agreed. Third. You don't get to decide you're tired of this experiment and walk away. You don't get to treat a child like a business venture that didn't work out. You commit, or you don't start. Victoria felt something unfamiliar in her chest. Not fear. Something adjacent to it. Accountability. I commit, she said. You don't know what you're committing to. Then teach me. Michael pulled out his phone and checked the time. I have to go. Lily's concert is at 7. You should come. To the concert? You want to learn about parenting? Start with showing up. Lincoln, Elementary, Auditorium, 7 p.m. Don't be late. He stood, dropped cash on the table for his pie, and walked out. Victoria sat alone in the booth, surrounded by the sounds of other people's lives, and realized she'd just agreed to something that terrified her more than any boardroom negotiation ever had. Her phone buzzed again. 17 missed calls, her assistant wondering where she was. Victoria silenced it. Then she finished her terrible coffee and tried to remember the last time she'd been to an elementary school concert. She couldn't. Michael made it home with 40 minutes to spare. Lily was already dressed in her concert outfit, black pants and a white shirt that Michael had ironed twice to get the collar right. Did you remember my music folder? She asked, bouncing on her toes. In your backpack. Did you practice your breathing? Yes, Mrs. Chen says I'm getting really good at the high parts. Michael knelt down to her level. You nervous? A little. What if I forget the words? Then you lip sync and nobody will know. That's what I did in 4th grade chorus. Daddy! Lily giggled. That's cheating. That's survival. Come on, Bug. Let's get moving. They took the bus to school, Lily chattering the entire time about who was singing, what part, and how Marcus from her class couldn't carry a tune, but at least he tried really hard. Michael listened with half his attention, the other half circling back to Victoria Hale and her impossible proposal. "I want a baby." The words had lodged in his brain like a splinter. Michael had spent 8 months learning to be poor. He'd learned which grocery stores marked down meat on Tuesdays. He'd learned to stretch pasta 4 different ways. He'd learned the art of the apologetic phone call to utility companies asking for payment extensions. But he'd never learned to stop being a parent. That was the thing Victoria didn't understand. You couldn't learn parenting from books or consultants or whatever method billionaires use to acquire new skills. You learned it at 3 a.m. when your daughter had nightmares. You learned it negotiating vegetable consumption. You learned it every single day through 10,000 tiny choices that added up to a childhood. Could he teach that? Should he? The check sat in his wallet like a live grenade. $50,000. Enough to stabilize everything. Enough to stop juggling which bills to pay and which to defer. Enough to breathe, but accepting it meant accepting everything else. At the school, Mrs. Chen intercepted them at the auditorium entrance. "Michael, Lily!" Perfect timing. "Lily, go backstage with the others. Michael, there's an issue with the microphone stand. Could you help real quick?" "Sure." He helped Mrs. Chen adjust the stand while parents filed in, claiming seats and setting up phone cameras. Michael recognized most of them, the PTA regulars, the volunteer brigade, the parents who had time because they had money or family support, or both. He used to be one of them, back when Sarah was alive, and they had 2 incomes, and life was normal hard instead of impossible hard. "All set," Mrs. Chen said. "Thanks, Michael. You're always willing to help." "No problem." He found a seat in the back row, next to the exit. Old habit from when Lily first started school and had separation anxiety. Always sit where you can reach her quickly if needed. The auditorium filled up. The lights dimmed. Mrs. Chen walked on stage to welcoming applause. And then, just as the concert was about to start, someone slid into the empty seat beside Michael. Victoria Hale, still in her Chanel coat, slightly out of breath. "I'm not late," she whispered. Michael stared at her. "You came. You told me to. I didn't think you actually would." Victoria pulled off her coat, revealing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than the school's entire music program budget. "I said I'd commit. Did you think I was lying? I thought you'd reconsider." "I don't reconsider." Victoria looked at the stage. "Which one is Lily?" "Third from the left, front row. Dark curls. She looks like you. She looks like her mother." Victoria opened her mouth to respond, but Mrs. Chen began speaking and the audience quieted. The concert was exactly what elementary school concerts always were. Slightly off-key, occasionally chaotic, and somehow more moving than any professional performance. The kids sang about winter and friendship and holiday traditions with the kind of unself-conscious joy that adults spent fortunes trying to recapture. Lily had a solo line in the 3rd song. Michael watched her stand up straight, take the breath he'd taught her, and nail every note. Pride hit him like a physical force. Next to him, Victoria sat perfectly still, her attention complete and absolute. This was probably how she watched corporate presentations, Michael thought. Total focus, analyzing, calculating, evaluating. But when Lily finished her solo and the audience applauded, Victoria's hands came together with everyone else's. The concert ended. Parents rushed forward to collect their children. Michael stood, expecting Victoria to make a quick exit. Instead, she followed him toward the stage. Lily spotted him and launched herself forward. "Daddy, did you hear me? Did I do okay?" "You were perfect, Bug. I wasn't nervous at all." "Well, maybe a little. But then I remembered about breathing and..." She stopped, noticing Victoria. "Oh, you're the sad lady from the doctor's office." Victoria froze. Michael watched her face cycle through expressions: surprise, discomfort. Something that might have been pain before settling into careful neutrality. "I am," Victoria said. "I remember you. You asked me why I looked sad." "Yeah. Do you still look sad?" "Lily, Michael intervened gently. That's not. It's fine. Victoria crouched down to Lily's level, an action that seemed to surprise her as much as it surprised Michael. I was sad that day. But right now, I just watched a beautiful concert, so I'm less sad. That's good. Being sad is yucky. It is, Victoria agreed. Lily studied her with the intense scrutiny only 8-year-olds could manage. Are you friends with my dad? Michael and Victoria exchanged glances. We're getting to know each other, Victoria said carefully. Okay. Do you want to get pizza? We always get pizza after concerts. Daddy says it's tradition. Lily. I wouldn't want to intrude, Victoria said simultaneously. Lily looked between them, confused by the adult awkwardness. It's just pizza. Michael made a decision. Victoria, would you like to get pizza with us? He watched her calculation happen in real time. She was probably supposed to be somewhere. Probably had 17 calls to return. Probably had a dozen reasons to decline gracefully. I'd like that, Victoria said. Very much. The pizza place was loud, cheap, and packed with post-concert families. They found a table in the corner while Lily negotiated toppings at the counter. She's negotiating pizza toppings like it's a merger, Victoria observed. She learned from watching me negotiate with her about bedtime. Michael studied Victoria. You're uncomfortable. I'm fine. You're sitting like someone might steal your purse. This is Wicker Park, not the Tenderloin. Relax. Victoria made a visible effort to unclench. I don't do this often. What, pizza? Spontaneous. Unplanned. Sitting in restaurants where the menus are laminated. Laminated menus are a sign of quality. Means they're confident enough not to change their offerings. That's not how quality works. Sure it is. Consistency is underrated, Lily returned with a number placard. They're making it now. Can I have quarters for the arcade game? Michael fished out change. Lily bounded off toward an ancient machine in the corner. She has energy, Victoria said. Always. It's like living with a very small, very enthusiastic tornado. How do you keep up? I don't. I just try to point the tornado at appropriate targets. Homework, creative play, helping with chores. Speaking of which, Michael leaned forward. We need to talk about your proposal. Seriously. Victoria's professional mask slipped back into place. I'm listening. This can't be a business arrangement. You understand that, right? You can't contract your way into parenthood. I'm not trying to. Then what are you trying to do? Victoria watched Lily at the arcade game, her small hands working the controls with intense concentration. I'm trying to learn something I should have learned 30 years ago. I'm trying to understand what you do every day without thinking about it. I think about it constantly. You know what I mean. Michael did. If we do this, and I'm still saying if there have to be rules, real ones, not corporate policy, such as, Lily's schedule doesn't change unless absolutely necessary. Her school, her friends, her routine, that's sacred. Understood. You don't get to swoop in and throw money at problems. That's not parenting. That's just being rich. But if money could help, then we discuss it. Together. Like partners, not like CEO and employee. Victoria nodded slowly. What else? You show up. Every time. Even when it's boring. Especially when it's boring. Parenting is 90% boring and 10% panic. I can do boring. Can you? Can you sit through a 2-hour school assembly about dental hygiene? Can you attend a dance recital where Lily's on stage for 90 seconds out of an hour? Can you help with homework you find trivial? I built a billion-dollar company from nothing. I can handle homework. That's not the same thing. Why not? Michael leaned back as the server brought their pizza. Because building a company, you're moving toward something. Parenting? Half the time you're just there. Present, available, not fixing, not improving, not optimizing, just being. Lily returned and climbed into her seat. It's here. Can I have the first slice? Let it cool. But I'm hungry now. Then you can be hungry for 3 more minutes while it cools. Lily sighed dramatically but waited. Victoria watched the interaction with the intensity of someone studying a foreign language. They ate. Lily talked between bites about her friends and her teacher and the science project she wanted to do about crystals. Victoria listened without interrupting, occasionally asking questions that Lily answered with elaborate enthusiasm. Halfway through the meal, Lily leaned over to Victoria. "You smell nice." "Like flowers." "Thank you. It's perfume. My mom used to wear perfume." Daddy says she smelled like vanilla. The table went quiet. Michael waited for Victoria to retreat into corporate politeness, to deflect, to change the subject. Instead, Victoria said, "That sounds lovely." "Yeah. But it's okay. Daddy says she's always with us." "I think your dad is right." Lily smiled and returned to her pizza. Crisis averted, moment navigated. 8-year-old satisfied. Victoria looked at Michael over Lily's head. He saw the question in her eyes. How did you know what to say? He didn't have an answer. You just did. You learned your child, you learned grief, you learned the intersection of both, and you figured it out in real time. After dinner, they walked toward the bus stop. Lily skipped ahead while Michael and Victoria followed. She mentioned her mother without falling apart. Victoria said quietly, "How long did that take? A year? 18 months? Hard to say. Grief isn't linear. What did you do?" I let her feel whatever she felt. I answered questions honestly. I didn't try to fix her sadness, just held it with her. Victoria absorbed this. I would have tried to fix it. I know. That's why you need to learn. At the bus stop, Lily yawned. Michael checked the schedule 10 minutes. I should go, Victoria said. Thank you for letting me join you. You showed up. That's step 1. What's step 2? Michael looked at his daughter, now sitting on the bench, tracing patterns in the air with her finger. That's the thing about parenting. There is no step 2. There's just more of step 1. Showing up. Again, and again, and again. Victoria's town car pulled up. She'd texted for it while they were eating. She opened the door, then paused. Michael. The job offer? The check. Are you accepting? I need more time. How much time? I don't know. I need to think about what's best for Lily. For me. For he stopped. For all of us, if this is going to happen, take the time you need. But Michael? Victoria met his eyes. I meant what I said. I'm committed. Whether it takes a week or a month or a year, I'm committed. She got in the car and disappeared into the Chicago night. Lily appeared at Michael's side. I like her. She's weird. Yeah, Bug, she is. Is she going to be around more? Michael looked at his daughter's upturned face. So trusting. So open. Maybe. Would that be okay? Lily considered this. Does she know how to play Uno? I don't know. Then we have to teach her. Everyone should know Uno. The bus arrived. They climbed aboard. And Michael spent the ride home thinking about perfume and pizza and the impossible task of teaching someone how to love. 3 days passed before Michael called. Victoria was in a meeting with her board when her phone lit up with his name. She stood immediately. Excuse me, Victoria, we're in the middle of. Excuse me. She repeated and walked out. She answered in the hallway. Michael, I have an answer. Her heart did something arrhythmic. I'm listening. Not on the phone. Can you come to my apartment? Tomorrow, 6 p.m.? I'll be there. Bring comfortable clothes. We're making dinner. He hung up. Victoria stood in the hallway of her own building, surrounded by the infrastructure of her empire, and felt completely untethered. The next evening, Victoria stood outside a building in Logan Square that had probably been impressive in 1970. Now, it was just tired, with a broken intercom and a front door that didn't quite latch. She'd worn jeans, actual jeans, purchased that afternoon, and a cashmere sweater. Her driver had looked confused when she told him to wait indefinitely. Michael answered on the second knock. You came. You asked me to. The apartment was small. One bedroom Lily's, clearly, based on the unicorn bedspread visible through an open door, and a living area where Michael apparently slept on a pull-out couch. The kitchen was barely bigger than a galley, but it was clean and smelled like garlic and tomatoes. "Lily," Michael called. "Our guest is here." Lily appeared from her room. "Hi, are you ready to cook?" Victoria looked at Michael. "Step 2, he said. "Welcome to a Tuesday night." They made spaghetti and meatballs. Or rather, Michael and Lily made it while Victoria observed and occasionally followed instructions. "You have to mix it with your hands," Lily explained, elbow deep in ground beef and breadcrumbs. "That's how the flavors get to know each other." Victoria rolled up her sleeves, literally rolled up Loro Piana cashmere, and plunged her hands into the bowl. "Not so hard," Michael corrected. "You're mixing, not murdering." "Gentle." Victoria adjusted her technique. Her hands were cold. The meat was warm. The sensation was visceral and strange and completely outside her experience. "Good," Michael said. "Now roll them into balls." "Lily, show her." Lily demonstrated, her small hands shaping meat into imperfect spheres. Victoria tried to copy her, producing something vaguely round. "They don't have to be perfect," Lily said. "Daddies are always lumpy." "Thanks, Bug." They cooked together in the tiny kitchen, elbows bumping, passing ingredients, navigating the space the way people did when they'd learned each other's rhythms. Victoria stood to the side, literally and figuratively, outside the dance. "Sauce," Michael said, handing her a wooden spoon. "Stir. Don't let it stick." Victoria stirred. The sauce bubbled. Steam rose. She watched it the way she watched quarterly earnings reports, looking for patterns and meaning. "Stop thinking," Michael said. "I'm not thinking. You're thinking so loud I can hear it. Stop analyzing. Just stir." Victoria tried. Failed. Tried again. Lily set the table, chattering about her day. There'd been a pop quiz in math, easy, and a spider in the classroom. Scary, and Marcus had accidentally called the teacher Mom, hilarious. They ate at a table that wobbled unless you put a folded napkin under one leg. The meatballs were lumpy. The sauce was slightly burnt. The pasta was perfect. It was the best meal Victoria had eaten in years. After dinner, Lily dragged out a box of Uno cards. "I told Daddy you needed to learn." They played 3 rounds. Victoria lost all 3, mostly because she kept trying to strategize instead of just playing. "You're doing it again," Michael said. "Overthinking. This is a game of strategy. It's a game of luck and colors. Stop treating it like chess." At 8:30, Michael announced bedtime. Lily protested with the kind of half-hearted resistance that suggested she was actually tired. Brush teeth. Face washed. 5 minutes. Lily disappeared. Victoria started collecting dishes. "Leave them," Michael said. "I don't mind. Leave them." "Come here." He led her to Lily's doorway. Inside, Lily was arranging stuffed animals on her bed with precise care. "She has a system," Michael explained quietly. "The bear goes on the left because he's brave and protects her. The bunny goes on the right because he's soft and good for hugs. The dragon goes at the foot of the bed because dragons guard treasures." "She told you all this?" "Over months. Little pieces at a time. That's how kids work. They don't give you the manual up front. You learn them slowly." Lily climbed into bed. Michael sat on the edge and picked up a book from the nightstand. "Can she read the first part?" Lily asked, pointing at Victoria. Michael looked at Victoria. "Want to?" Victoria's throat tightened. "I don't. I'm not good at. Just read the words. She'll handle the rest." Victoria sat carefully on the other side of the bed. The book was well worn, pages soft from repeated handling. She opened to the marked page and began to read. Her voice sounded mechanical to her own ears. Corporate. Professional. Wrong. But Lily listened anyway, her eyes tracking the illustrations while Victoria stumbled through a story about a mouse who wanted to be an astronaut. "Now Daddy's turn," Lily announced after 2 pages. Michael took over. His voice transformed the words, adding emphasis and emotion and silly voices for different characters. Lily giggled. Victoria watched them both, memorizing the interaction. This was parenting. This was the 90% boring Michael had mentioned. Dishes and bedtimes, and reading the same books over and over. It was also everything. "Good night, Bug," Michael said, kissing Lily's forehead. "Good night, Daddy. Good night, Victoria." "Good night, Lily," Victoria managed. They left the door cracked open, a nightlight glowing soft yellow inside. In the kitchen, Michael finally turned to face her properly. "You did good. I read 2 pages. Badly. You showed up. You tried. That's what matters." He leaned against the counter. "So, here's my answer." Victoria's pulse accelerated. "Yes," Michael said. "Name them. We don't start with a baby. We start with time. You spend time with Lily, with me, with our life. Real time, not scheduled appearances. You learn what this actually looks like. For how long? 6 months. 6 months?" Victoria's voice rose. "The doctor said, I know what the doctor said. But this isn't about your timeline. It's about whether you can actually do this." His voice softened. "Victoria, I'm not saying no. I'm saying not yet. Show me you can be present. Show me you can put someone else's needs above your own. Show me you won't bail when it gets hard. And if I do, show you, then we talk about the next step. Together, as partners." Michael crossed his arms. "But I need to see it first. Because Lily already lost one mother. I won't risk her losing another." The words hit like a slap. But they were fair. They were more than fair. 6 months, Victoria repeated. 6 months. You keep the job offer, I'll accept that. Because pride doesn't pay rent. But the rest? The baby conversation? That waits until you prove you can handle the life you're asking for. Victoria looked around the small apartment. The dishes in the sink. The couch that folded out into a bed. The wobbling table. This was what she was asking to join. Not a theoretical future with a designer nursery and a nanny. This, what if I can't do it? She asked quietly. What if I try and fail? Then you fail. And we stop before anyone gets more hurt. Michael's expression gentled. But Victoria, I don't think you're going to fail. I think you're going to struggle. I think you're going to hate parts of it. But I don't think you'll fail. Why not? Because you showed up tonight. Because you stuck your hands in raw meat and read 2 pages of a kid's book and lost at Uno without checking your phone once. Because, despite everything you are, there's a part of you that wants this badly enough to be uncomfortable. Victoria's eyes burned. I don't cry. Then don't. But if you need to, that's okay too. She didn't cry. But it was close. 6 months, she said. Starting when? Starting now. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Lily has gymnastics at 4. You're picking her up from school and taking her. By myself? By yourself. Welcome to parenting. The first month was brutal. Victoria learned about car seats, complicated, snack negotiations, exhausting, and the specific way Lily liked her sandwich. Cut diagonally, not straight, obviously. She learned that children asked approximately 7,000 questions per car ride and expected actual answers. She learned that I'm busy wasn't an acceptable response to, can you help me with this? She also learned that Michael had been right about the 90% boring. Gymnastics, pickups, homework, help. Reading the same book 17 times in a row. But the 10%? The 10% was Lily's hand slipping into hers at a crosswalk without asking. The 10% was, you came when Victoria arrived at a school assembly. The 10% was the night Lily had a nightmare and asked for Victoria specifically because you have a calm voice. By month 2, Victoria had rearranged her entire schedule. Board meetings moved to early morning. Conference calls happened during Lily's school hours. She installed a car seat in her town car, much to her driver's confusion. She also moved. Not far, just to a building 10 blocks from Michael's apartment. Not penthouse. Not luxury. Just a 2-bedroom with reasonable rent and proximity. You didn't have to do that, Michael said when she told him. Yes, I did. I can't parent from 57 floors away. Month 3 brought challenges. Lily tested boundaries. Victoria struggled with discipline. Michael intervened when Victoria tried to negotiate screen time like it was a business contract. She's 8, he reminded her. Not a shareholder. But if I explain the logic, kids don't operate on logic. They operate on consistency. No means no. Not no means let me prepare a presentation about why I should reconsider. Victoria learned. She also learned about sick days. The night Lily spiked a fever, Victoria sat up with her, applying cool cloths and dispensing medicine at 3 a.m. Michael dozed in the chair across the room, trusting Victoria to handle it. She'd never felt more terrified or more necessary. Month 4. Something shifted. It happened on a Saturday. Saturdays had become their day, Victoria's and Lily's, while Michael worked a weekend custodian shift for extra money. They were at the Children's Museum, looking at an exhibit about space. Lily was asking questions about black holes. Victoria was explaining gravitational fields using metaphors an 8-year-old could understand. So it's like everything gets pulled in and can't escape? Exactly. Like how Daddy says he feels about bills? Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. Yes. Exactly like that. You're good at explaining stuff. Lily took her hand. Mrs. Chen says some grown-ups talk to kids like they're dumb, but you don't. You're not dumb. I know, but some grown-ups don't know that. They moved to the next exhibit. At some point, Victoria realized she hadn't checked her phone in 3 hours. She also realized she didn't care. This was it. This was the 90% Michael had described, and somewhere along the way, it had stopped feeling like work. Month 5 brought conversations. Michael and Victoria sat on his apartment building's roof, technically not allowed, but nobody enforced it, drinking coffee while Lily slept downstairs. You've been showing up, Michael said. That was the agreement. It's more than that. You've been present. Victoria wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. The city stretched below them, lights against darkness. I didn't know this was possible. What? Caring about someone more than I care about quarterly earnings, rearranging my life and not resenting it, feeling proud of a successful homework assignment. Welcome to parenting. We're not there yet, aren't we? Michael looked at her. Victoria, for 5 months, you've been doing everything a parent does except living under the same roof. You've sacrificed, you've compromised, you've put someone else first. So, what are you saying? I'm saying we should talk about the next step. Victoria's heart stuttered. The baby conversation. The baby conversation. They sat in silence. Chicago breathed around them, traffic and voices and life continuing unaware. I'm scared, Victoria admitted. Good. You should be. Parenting is terrifying. What if I revert? What if the pressure of a baby brings back all my worst instincts? Then I call you on it. That's what partners do. Michael set down his mug. But I don't think you will. You know why? Because Lily loves you. And you love her. I see it in how you look at her, how you show up, how you rearranged your entire life without being asked. That's not contract compliance. That's love. Victoria's vision blurred. I do love her. God, Michael. I do. I know. She knows too. What about you? The question slipped out before Victoria could stop it. Michael smiled. What about me? Do you? She stopped. Started again. These 5 months. We've been co-parenting. But we haven't been dating? No. We haven't. Michael's smile widened. Been wondering when you'd notice. I notice everything. Then you've noticed I make excuses to touch your shoulder when you're reading to Lily. You've noticed I watch you when you're not looking. You've noticed I brew your coffee exactly how you like it, without asking. Victoria had noticed. She'd filed it away under "Don't examine too closely" because examining it felt dangerous. "This complicates things," she said. "Only if we let it." Michael moved closer. "Victoria, I'm not proposing marriage. I'm not even proposing dating, exactly. I'm proposing we keep doing what we're doing, building something real, seeing where it goes. And the baby? If you still want that, we can talk about it. IVF, adoption, whatever makes sense. But," he paused, "there's a third option you haven't considered." "What?" "You already have a daughter. Lily doesn't need another mother biologically. But if we wanted, you could be her mother. Officially. Adoption. Make it legal." Victoria's breath caught. "You'd let me adopt her? I'd be honored for you to adopt her." The tears came, then, finally. 5 months of holding back, 5 months of proving herself, 5 months of terror and hope and learning to love. Michael pulled her close. Victoria cried into his shoulder while the city glittered below. "I want both," she finally said. "I want to adopt Lily, and I want to try for another baby. Not because I need a biological child, because I want to build something with you, a family, the kind I never had. Then that's what we'll do. Just like that? Just like that." Michael tilted her face up. "Victoria Hale, you walked into my life covered in soup and turned everything upside down. Might as well make it official. That's possibly the least romantic thing anyone's ever said. You want romance? Fine. Victoria Hale, you're brilliant and terrifying, and the best thing that ever happened to my daughter. Also, you're terrible at Uno and you apologize to vending machines when you bump into them. Marry me." Victoria laughed through tears. "That's not much better. I'm a work in progress. You'll have to teach me. I think we'll teach each other." Michael kissed her then, soft and sure, while Chicago sparkled below and their daughter slept safe upstairs. 6 months to the day after their first meeting, Victoria stood in Michael's apartment holding legal documents. "Adoption papers," she said, her voice unsteady. "My lawyer said we can file immediately." Lily looked up from her coloring. "What's adoption?" Michael knelt beside her. "It means Victoria becomes your mom. Officially, legally, forever. But she's already kind of my mom. This makes it official. Would you like that?" Lily considered this with the seriousness of a judge. "Would I have 2 moms?" "Sort of. Your first mom will always be your mom. She gave birth to you and loved you. But Victoria can be your mom too. You can have both, and Victoria would stay. Even when things get hard." Victoria knelt down too. "Especially when things get hard. That's what families do. They stay." Lily looked at her with those wise 8-year-old eyes. "Promise?" "I promise." "Okay. Can Victoria come to my school thing next week?" "I'll be there," Victoria said. "Cool." Lily returned to coloring, the matter settled with childhood certainty. Michael and Victoria exchanged glances. In the 6 months since their first meeting, they'd built something neither had planned for. Not just co-parenting, not just romance. Something bigger, a family. Later, after Lily was asleep, they sat on the building's roof again. "Their spot? I need to tell you something," Victoria said. "About my mother." "Okay," I said. "She made me feel like a quarterly report." "That's true. But there's more." Victoria stared at the city. "She had me because she thought it would complete her life. Make her whole, give her purpose. And when I didn't, when I was just a regular child who needed attention and patience, she resented me. Victoria, I'm terrified of doing the same thing. To Lily. To whatever child we have together. What if I wanted this for the wrong reasons? What if I can't maintain this version of myself?" Michael took her hand. "Do you know what you said to Lily 2 weeks ago? When she was upset about failing that math test?" "What?" "You said, 'Failure isn't falling down, it's refusing to get back up.' You told her that making mistakes was part of learning. that you were proud of her for trying. So the Victoria Hale from 6 months ago would never have said that. She would have hired a tutor and created an improvement plan and treated failure like a problem to optimize away. Your point? My point is, you're not your mother. You're learning, you're trying, and every day you choose to show up and do better. Michael squeezed her hand. That's all any parent can do. Choose love. Every single day. Victoria leaned against him. What if it's not enough? It's always enough. Love doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be present. Below them, the city continued its endless rhythm. Above them, stars struggled against light pollution. Between them, understanding settled like snow. I filed for IVF consultation, Victoria said quietly. Appointments next week. Together, together. Everything from here on out. Together. Even the boring parts, especially the boring parts. Michael kissed her temple. Then we're going to be fine. And for the first time since that snowy night in the restaurant, Victoria believed him. 18 months later, Victoria stood in the kitchen of a house they'd bought together, something bigger than Michael's apartment, smaller than Victoria's penthouse. Exactly right for a family of 4. Almost 4. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly while she supervised Lily making pancakes. 9-year-old Lily, who called her mom now without hesitation and who'd insisted on being present for every ultrasound. More chocolate chips? Lily asked. That's basically candy for breakfast. Dad lets me. Dad is a pushover. I heard that. Michael called from upstairs. Victoria smiled. The IVF had worked on the second attempt. A daughter they'd found out last week, due in 4 months. Her phone buzzed. Work emergency, probably. There was always a work emergency. Victoria silenced it. Mom? The pancake's burning. Right. Sorry. She flipped it. Slightly charred, definitely imperfect. Lily would eat it anyway. This was her life now. Pancakes and pregnancy hormones and a child who'd taught her what love actually meant. She still ran Hale Ventures, still closed deals and managed acquisitions. But now she left at 5 p.m. unless absolutely necessary. Now she scheduled around school concerts and gymnastics meets. Now she showed up. Michael appeared in the doorway, still disheveled from sleep. Coffee ready? On the counter. Lily's making breakfast. God help us. I'm getting really good, Lily protested. They ate together at a table that didn't wobble, in a kitchen filled with morning light. After breakfast, Lily would have soccer. Victoria would attend even though soccer confused her. Michael would grade papers for his new position. He'd gone back to school, was teaching architecture part-time while finishing his degree. They were building something. Not perfect. Victoria's phone buzzed again. Then again. Michael raised an eyebrow. You going to get that? No. I'm exactly where I need to be. Lily held up a pancake that looked vaguely like a misshapen heart. Look. I made it special. Victoria looked at her daughter, legally and completely, and felt something she'd spent 37 years avoiding. Pure, uncomplicated, overwhelming joy. It's perfect, she said. You're perfect. I'm not perfect. I burnt the edges. Then it's perfectly imperfect. Just like all of us. Michael caught her eye across the table. He smiled. She smiled back. Outside, Chicago woke to another winter morning. Snow would come eventually. It always did. But inside, they were warm. And for Victoria Hale, who'd spent a lifetime building walls of ice around her heart, that warmth was everything. The check she'd written that snowy night, $50,000 for a ruined dress, sat framed in Michael's office now, a reminder of where they'd started. But the real reminder was here. In this kitchen, in these pancakes, in the child who taught her what it meant to show up, in the family she'd built by learning, finally, to be human.